All right, what's up, guys? It's Justin Kahn back with another Fractal Radio, and today I'm talking to EFAS, or Earth from Another Sun. So, EFAS is a pretty exciting new space adventure game that I've played and I played a number of demo sessions. I was pretty impressed. It's pretty cool. So, welcome Anthony and Freeman to the show. How are you guys?
Doing great, thanks. Glad to be on the show.
We're doing great. Yeah, glad to be here. What about you, Justin? How are you?
I'm awesome. I just had another kid last week, so light on sleep, but I'm
Oh,
pretty happy. So yeah, tell me
Congratulations.
about. Thank you, thanks guys. So tell me about EFAS. How do you describe the game to people? Because it kind of has all of these different aspects. You know, it's a space game. There's like battles on planets. There's resources. What kind of game is it?
yes, it's definitely a pretty large scale game. Um, I would say it's a pretty ambitious project. So it's an open world MMOFPS galaxy for players to explore, and there are many different places that players can go, and many different things players can do. You know, they can engage in combat, they can build up their fleet and their army. They will get to meet a large variety of different virtual characters and as well as other players on their travels. They can do all of this with other players in co-op. Um, they will go into dungeons, find loot, you know, arm themselves and their friends with better equipment, better weapons, better gadgets. They can engage in trading and commerce. They can build up their own cities and found their own nations. They can conquer other nations if that's
Wow,
what they would like to do. They can even become pirates or hunt down other pirates. So there's definitely a large variety of different activities for players to engage in.
that's
And
a lot. That's like every kind of game.
yeah, and the thing is, most of the things that I just mentioned are actually already in the game and playable. So we've been working on this project for a while now. We actually first started working on this project since the end of 2018. Yeah, so there's definitely years of work put into this already. And
Amazing.
yeah,
So how did you guys get started and decide you wanted to build a game of this scale?
so we've actually always wanted to build a game like this. It's like our dream. Um, it's definitely the dream game that we're building right now. But our studio, our team first got started back in 2016, and we made two games prior to this one, and both of those games were VR games. Yeah, we were really into VR back then, and still do now.
So how are you guys funding your project?
So for the first 2.5 years of development, this project is actually funded by our revenue from our previous video game projects. But recently, we raised a round from Solana Ventures, FTX, and Lightspeed Venture Partners. We
Awesome.
raised $4.5 million for this round.
Congrats.
Yeah,
I like that I mean, that's impressive. Everybody loves, I mean, raising money is great, but I actually like that you had revenue from a previous video game, which is a
yeah,
really good sign for your ability to produce the game that people actually like to play, right? Like it's almost more, anyone can raise money, but not everyone can create a game that people actually want to pay something for. So congrats. That's awesome.
thank you. Yeah, we're pretty proud that we've launched games in the past because it's actually very challenging to be actually able to finish and launch a game. Yeah. Most
Yeah.
video game projects fail halfway through development.
And then how do you decide to go in the crypto direction, or like what inspired you to create this game?
I would say CryptoKitties is a strong influence for us. We started playing that at the end of 2017. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was fun to play, but the concept was just super interesting, and we could see the potential the technology, would bring to the video game space. So we started experimenting with writing our own smart contracts, started programming Solidity, and then also tried Cadence. Uh, right now, we've we're now programming on Solana, and definitely a very interesting experience as a programmer. I do some programming myself, but mostly I spend my time doing game design. But yeah, we could see the huge potential, Web3 technology could bring to the video game space. That's why,
And what were the inspirations for EFAS? Like, what did you start with a smaller concept, or did you from the outset were you like, we want to create this massive open world game that kind of has everything in it, which is awesome, by the way.
I would say the biggest inspiration for EFAS is Mount and Blade, the PC game Mount and Blade. I'm a huge fan of that game. I like its the level of freedom it offers. So Mount and Blade is also an open world where players get to go to different places, go to different cities. They can also build up their army and then build up their nation. They can eventually conquer the world. And for EFAS, the kind of player experience and the kind of player fantasy we wanted to create is to put players inside their favorite battles from their favorite sci-fi movies. So imagine something like the Battle of Naboo in Star Wars. That's one of my favorite scenes from any movie, and I was just trying to imagine, what if I could play this in a video game? How fun would that be? And
awesome.
And to be able to play something like that, it wouldn't be super fun unless we actually have that kind of scale. Hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers, robots, vehicles, tanks, mounted cavalry on the battlefield, and on a very large-scale, chaotic battlefield that feels realistic. So that's the kind of experience that we're trying to create in EFAS. Yeah. So right now,
Amazing.
The engine that we've built supports battles of up to 1,000 AI-controlled units. So yeah, that definitely brings, we think it brings the sense of scale that we would like to achieve, that we want players to be able to experience.
So tell me about the gameplay in the game, because I played it a little bit. Like, it started off with a space battle. I mean, I guess there's like different demo levels that you guys have right now, right? And so I played the space battle, and then I was kind of like landing and getting some resupplies at these like city or space stations and stuff like that. And then I think I attacked a planet. I ended up attacking a planet. I was wholly unprepared. I think I needed to build up my forces a little bit before that, but I got like completely smoked. So, like when you launch the game, like what are you going to launch with, or what's out there right now, and like tell us about like the story of how, like what's the experience that players jump into when they first start.
Okay. So as of now, our story is that humanity has fled Earth after it kind of became inhabitable. So where we are right now is where the Ark, a ship humanity built to secure genetic materials to birth humans once it found a suitable planet, arrived.
Yes, and the place they landed is actually called Kepler 452.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So
is this a real?
It's a real
solar system.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And the reason we chose this one is because within this solar system, there is a planet that's currently, from data provided by NASA, it's a planet that's has the highest similarity to Earth right now. So it has the highest potential to be able to harbor life.
That's the Earth from another sun.
Yes. So that's why in our story, humanity chose this place to go to.
And after humanity arrived there, we started to prosper again. And very quickly, through the use of new technology developed by the Ark during the travel with an AI, and the gathering new materials we never had access to on Earth, we developed and we started to be able to terraform and create space stations that would support thousands of lives and space fortresses. But as we grew, our unity started to kind of collapse. And after a while, 6 major factions emerged, and they were disagreeing on a lot of things. For example, when we arrived, there's already a native species called the Carolans, and some humans are okay to mix with them, and some are not. So what happens is that these 6 factions starts to split up, and one of them gets almost obliterated. They lose their home planet during a war, and the few survivors gather and they flee, vowing vengeance. And where we are right now in the game is when they come back with a very hostile insectoid alien race they found, and they also mix their DNA with this species. So they are improved human plus insectoids, kind of like what you can see in StarCraft or Starship Troopers.
Gotcha. So the snubbed humans come back. They've got, a bigger threat to everybody else. And then you're catapulted in this world. And like, what role do you play as a character here?
So your character is a little bit interesting. Basically, we want you to be able to write your own story. We're very focused on this open galaxy, sandbox galaxy. So you can do whatever you want, which is what you experienced. If you want to conquer a planet right away, you can try. You will fail, but you can try. So your goal can be whatever you want. You can try to unify every faction to push back against this menace. You could join the menace if you want to exterminate everyone, or you can just conquer everything and win because against this menace because you didn't ally them. You just took control of each faction individually, and then
Gotcha.
you took control. However, your character is a little bit mysterious. He has a suit with a very particular AI. And as the character, you don't really know what your AI can do, but you can see there are characters that know more about you and your AI than they let on. But you just don't know as a player, and it's something that unravels as you play.
Awesome. So tell us about what you're releasing or what's available to play now for players in this kind of alpha build.
So as of now, players are able to engage in trade, piracy. There's a light diplomacy element that we're extending. And dungeons, so solo content, and army battles. And that's where our focus is right now. So as Freeman said before, we support up to 1,000 units. We already have several battlefields. And I would say if we combine vehicles and troop types, we might be at 15 different types of troops. So you have this alien race I talked about, the PEMs that are that you can command. They are human soldiers, alien soldiers, tanks that you can drive if you wish, mechs that you can pilot as well, and you can give them order as you fight alongside them. So that's very exciting, and it's basically StarCraft but in first person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. I was a huge StarCraft fan. So tell me about the tournament that you were going to launch together with Fractal.
Yeah. So the tournament is going to be one of the pirate layers in the game. So it's a small piece of content. You can think of it like one dungeon in World of Warcraft. So we're taking a small piece of the game and making that available for everyone to compete in this tournament. The pirate layer is a very dangerous place, but it's also, legends tell that there's immense amounts of treasure, hidden in the depths of the pirate layer. So for the players who dare to go inside and survive till the end, and eventually find the treasure, and there will be a lot of loot for them to take back home.
Awesome.
And of course, a gold token for our upcoming mint as well.
All right, and so tell us about the mint. What are we minting in early August?
Yeah, so for our mint that's coming in August, it's going to be our very first mint. And for this mint, we're minting spaceships. They're called the Contarados class cruiser. So as a cruiser, it's a pretty large type of spaceship. It excels in it's designed for combat.
So zooming out, what role do the ships play in the game?
Yes. So ships can be used for combat. So right now, the combat in the game is a first-person shooter. So like I mentioned, imagine the Battle of Naboo. So players fight on the ground with their armies alongside them, and then their ships will be hovering overhead in the air, and will be providing fire support from above.
Gotcha. If you mint one of these ships, then that's the ship that you can use in the game.
Yes, you will be. So players who own this ship will be able to use this ship in combat. But the ship is of course also used for traveling. So moving to different places, different locations in the galaxy, and also the ship has a really nice interior. So you can walk around, go to different rooms inside the ship. It's got a very nice captain's room.
It's also like a luxury space yacht.
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's what it is. It's especially, I would say it's especially awesome for players who will be playing co-op, because then they will be able to invite their friends onto their ships. So, so right now the game supports up to 4-player co-op. So four people can basically live inside that ship together.
Gotcha. That's cool. I love that. As a kid, I would have loved that. I always wanted to play these kinds of games in a co-op fashion with my friends. So how do you think about, digital assets and NFTs playing a role in the game? How are you going to enhance the experience of a traditional game with, by making some of the stuff NFTs in this game?
I think it's incredibly important for players to be able to really own their assets. Because basically, before we can think of traditional video games that sell in-game assets to players, we can think of them as the publisher or the studio is taking a tax on in-game transactions, and the tax rate is 100%. So basically, yeah, players buy it, and we'll never be able to sell it to anyone else. But now, when players can actually own their own assets, and also the project facilitates trading and the free flow of goods and services inside the game's economy, then players will be able to enjoy the benefit of not only owning their assets, but also trading and fostering lively economy within the game. And it's not to say that there's no tax rate, because for any healthy economy, a tax should still be taken to Like, for example, in the real world, tax income is used to maintain the country, right? Maintain different services. And I think that's necessary in video game economies as well. So the tax income can be used to improve the game, to build new features, new content. But I think the tax rate should be much lower than 100%. It just doesn't make sense for the tax rate to be 100%.
Gotcha. So you in this game, you kind of see it as the stuff that's going to be created in the game, like spaceships, is the same kind of like digital purchases that you would buy in another. If this game wasn't a crypto game, it's just the reset. You have like an ability to resell them to other players, and
Yes.
in that you like there's you're lowering the tax rate, like you said. It's like actually more of a like an ownership economy instead of like everything being just centrally planned and you only interact with the main store, I guess. Like the you can only buy or sell from the like, or really only buy in most games from the game publisher.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is quite similar to the virtual items that you can buy in other games, traditional games. But once you buy those games, you're stuck with those items. If you stop playing the game, then all of those items go to waste. But now, thanks to Web3 technology, you will actually be able to sell those to other players.
Awesome.
And on top of the items we will mint, players will be also able to mint their own items, being weapons, armor, skills, troops, etc. And we want the economy to be fully opened. So we envision our game's economy like World of Warcraft, because there's already a lot of things you can sink your resources into. You can progress either your character, your fleet, gather more troops, or upgrade your current troops. So a lot of things to sink your resources into. And we want players to be able to do whatever they want with what they own. So they can resell it, they can exchange it. We want, clearly a fully opened economy.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to trade than just spaceships, because we want players to be able to craft their own items. So they'll be able to craft their own spaceships, and of course also vehicles, weapons, other types of equipment. And then they will be able to trade these with each other as well. And they can actually also will be able to trade crafting material.
Cool.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. So it's like kind of like a fully composable economy, and then you can mint these assets and trade them to other players afterwards.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
And another aspect Web3 brings to us that we believe is very important is the governance token, the DAO, where players effectively can control what happens in the game. Because we often say that once a creator creates something and releases it to the public, it doesn't belong to them anymore. And we want to make that somehow a reality.
Cool. Okay, and like tell us about the roadmap for the next 6 months or the next year. Like what are you gonna release? Where do you hope to get to?
In the next 6 months, our goal is to actually launch the game in open beta.
Yeah.
Because right now we're in the closed alpha stage. And for the closed alpha, players actually had to pay to join, to participate. And they had to, each player has to pay between $30 and $250 to play in the closed alpha. And so far we have over 10,000 players paying for closed alpha already.
Wow.
And we're pretty happy with that. We think that speaks to the level of attractiveness the game has to players. And most of these players are players of traditional AAA games. So we're very happy to see that they are very interested in the game, and they would shell out money to be able to play, even though the game is still in development. So I would say the game is already 75% completed. Well, at least the version 1.0 is around 75% completed. And so between now and the open beta launch, what we have to do is polish and actually complete the rest of the content that we wanted to add to the version 1.0. And then it'll be ready for launch.
Cool. Okay, so where can people find out more about EFAS online?
Yeah, so the website is efas.io, and Twitter handle is playefas.
All right, guys, that was awesome. Thanks for joining, and we will see you on Fractal for the tournament soon, tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Justin.